Hey guys, how you doing? I know it's been a minute, but let's get back in the saddle now. I thought we'd jump right in with rounding decimals. Now, I know most of the time with rounding, people will stick with a traditional chant or rhyme, like 5 or more, add to the score, 4 or less, let it rest, something to that effect, which is fine. Totally cool. But again, it doesn't really show us why these things work. That's why I also like to teach how to round using a number line. And in this case, I'm going to round some decimals. So I thought I'd start with the number I'm going to work with today. And the number I'm going to work with today is 91 and 87 hundredths. Now, when I'm doing 91 and 87 hundredths, the first thing I'm going to do is say, okay, what am I going to round to? And in this case, I'm going to say, let's round to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to underline my tenth. Now, this is the little trick I do with my kids to help them get the number line established. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell them to cover up everything after the place value of the number we're rounding to. So in this case, the tenths. And I'm going to go and I'm going to cover it up. And that's going to leave me with 91 and 8 tenths. What I'm going to do is I know that's going to be my base. It's going to be my lower boundary. So in my lower boundary over here on my number line, I'm going to write 91 and 8 tenths. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the number I covered with a 0. And again, this just helps visualize what we're doing. Next, I'm going to tell them, okay, well, for our upper boundary, we've got to go one place value higher than that. And in this case, we had 8 tenths, so it's going to end up being 9 tenths. So for my upper boundary now, I'm going to write 91 and 9 tenths, and I'm going to replace that 7 with a 0. So now I know I'm looking at 91 and 8 tenths and 91 and 9 tenths, my upper and lower boundary. I know now that this is also going to be one of the answers for my estimation or my rounding. Now to figure it out and again, get that visualization, I'm going to ask my students to tell me what is the midpoint between 91 and 8 tenths and 91 and 9 tenths. And as we discuss that, we're going to go through and we're going to determine that it is 91 and 85 hundredths. And if they're having a problem with this, I usually just, I'm going to cover up everything after the decimal, and I'm going to say, okay, we're starting with 80, and then over here we're ending with 90. Let's count from 80 to 90 and talk about what number is in the middle, and that's going to give us our number to put in there. Now, once we have that, it's fairly simple. We're going to look at our number, 9187. I'm going to say, okay, I have 9180. Here's 9185. Here's 9190. Where would 9187 go in there? And the student, even if we have to go through a little bit of counting and say 9180, 9181, 9182, and so on, eventually we're going to determine that 9187 is going to fall right in here somewhere. Now that we know that our number is going to fall there, not only can we visually see that it's going to be closer to 91 and 9 tenths, or 91 and 90 hundredths, however you want to present it, but I can also start to understand why I say if it's a 5 or more, we're going to add to the score and move that way. And that's the way I like to teach rounding with decimals and a number line. Again, it gives that visual representation as well as a good fundamental understanding of why these rhymes like 5 or more, add to the score, 4 or less, let it rest, actually work. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Hope to hear from you soon. Got anything to say? Drop a comment.